If you stand against the hijab, you have two options. Either you do like France and you ban it through the law, or you do it like the UK and the US and you transform it into a fashion statement void of any meaning or signification. The aim of it is to dilute religion so much that it doesn't matter anymore for people. It is just a brand that you wear and you can make money from. Hello and welcome. My name is William. I am a researcher in sociology at the University of Warwick in the UK, where I have been working on Muslim lifestyles in Europe and North America. You may know by now that France has a very particular way of controlling its Muslim population by law, and many people think that life in the UK or the US for Muslims is a bit more easier, to which I argue yes and no. The UK and the US since 9/11 have their own very particular ways of controlling Muslims, and this video is about how. And it might really shock you because it is very under the radar. If you have been following the news in France, you know probably that France has been trying to control its Muslim population with voting laws like against the hijab in schools, the niqab in public spaces. France has been closing down bank accounts for some Muslim organizations. They also have been shutting down charities. And it comes from a very long history that, you have to go back to the Crusades and the colonial times, because you even had campaigns for unveiling Muslim women in the 1950s in Algeria. So as a result, if you are Muslim in France, you know that unless you really try to blend in, you take off your hijab, it's going to be very, very hard to experience any kind of social mobility. While in the meantime, the UK and the US, on the surface, you may see that they absolutely do not care about religious signs at schools or in public. People are allowed to wear the hijab, to dress as they want, even wear the niqab in the streets. While if you have been following the news, especially since 9/11, 7/7, and all the Brexit narratives, you know that a lot in Britain, especially when it comes to politicians, are fiercely opposed to any Muslim presence in the country. So do governments just do not care about Muslims? Well, actually they do. The thing is, they have a very, very effective strategy. And no, it's not bombing countries, as you may believe. It is something different. It's called astroturfing. Astroturfing is a form of social engineering, meaning it's a form of manipulation of people's minds. We'll focus on that in a minute, but mainly it means, for example, creating fake Muslim organizations and media outlets to propagate your own narrative. And the aim of it is to dilute religion so much that it doesn't matter anymore for people. It's very simple, because if instead of believing in God, justice, and making this world a better place, people start to worship money, fame, and power, they have won. So how do they do it? It's not the government. It's very subtle. It's government-funded think tanks. And they've been really, really good at hiding the tracks. Again, you have lots of references in the description. So Astroturfing has been, for example, in the UK, creating fake Muslim charities, fake media outlets, which pretend to be Muslim, but in fact are managed by people working for think tanks or the government. And they can be very insidious. This is, for example, one think tank which made a deal with Facebook to intervene into private messenger conversations with Muslims they would deem at risk of becoming extremists. After 9/11 and 7/7, people have realized that an antagonistic relationship to Muslims was not constructive. You could invade people's privacy, you can stop and search, you can raid houses to some extent, but the problem is it would only polarize this part of the population, so they had to think about another strategy. They've been trying to work with informants, paying people to spy on other Muslims, whether it was, outsiders or insiders. With the Prevent program, they've been subsidizing some madrasas, for example, but we know with strings attached, meaning that their informant had to spy on conversations between students and teachers in exchange of large sums of money that these very poor madrasas couldn't refuse. But now in the era of social media and celebrity culture, this is very different. This is about now selecting the right people to speak in the name of Islam or Muslims, to tell them this is how you should look, this is how you should speak, and this is how you should behave. Have you ever wondered why so many Muslims in politics, in the media, in music, or in Hollywood don't speak about issues like Palestine, for example, or why when they do speak about Palestine, they lose their working contracts? If you look at the Muslims who are at the forefront in politics, in the media, and the entertainment industry, film industry, the music industry, or on social media, a lot of them, it's not coincidental. It's not because they're really good or talented at anything. It's mainly because they have the right presentation and the right political opinions. They are the right kind of Muslims the government wants to see. These policies much originates from two reports issued by the RAND Corporation in the US after 9/11 happened. So these reports are said to be those who installed the good Muslim, bad Muslim narrative. These reports suggested with which Muslims should the government ally and work with, and which Muslims it should avoid or fight. The good Muslim, bad Muslim narrative came from British colonial times. I'll drop the reference in the description below. This is a very, very ancient concept which only resurfaced after 9/11. To determine if you were a good or a bad Muslim, there is a very simple test. It's all about your behavior, your political choices, and your socialization. For example, again, what is your position on Israel-Palestine? What is your position on the LGBTQ? What is your position on terrorism? Or even socioeconomic criteria, how much do you earn? For example, if you are poor, working class, if you are against the LGBTQ, if you are a supporter of Palestine, where, well, you're not really a good Muslim for the state, but is in the contrary, if you are very rich, if you are in favor of the LGBTQ, if you do not support Palestine, then yeah, you're the perfect Muslim. To caricature these standards, I've created a bad Muslim, good Muslim test, which is online and you can undertake if you like, to see how much you score on the government scale. Is to say, it's all like fictional, but it basically synthesizes all these reports and research into a set of questions that you answer, and you figure out if you are a good Muslim, enough of a good Muslim for the government or not. And you know, the kind of lifestyle people push on social media, all about consumerism, about getting in debt, about getting these destination weddings and people taking loans out, this is not so innocent. There's a very specific purpose to that, because the more Muslims are in debt, the less they have power. The more they take loans for their weddings, the less they can invest, the less they can actually own in terms of property. The more people are stuck into their 9-to-5s trying to chase money, and the less time they have to just stop and reflect on their lives, the less time they have to organize, create initiatives, build a political movement, the less they are united and where they can unite and do things together. While France seems a bit like George Orwell's 1984, in the UK or the US it's much more Huxley's Brave New World, where people are given these pills, entertainment, distraction, money, fame and power, to the point they just forget about who they are, their culture, their ethics, their morals, and are willing to sacrifice all of them to get a glimpse of financial stability, recognition, visibility. Thank you for watching, and again, take care of yourselves.